Well, ang talagang positive sa kumpanya ni VP Lenny ay talagang nakapag-ignite siya ng spirit of volunteerism. Talagang, yun na nga, we talk about narrative strength, we talk about logistical slash mobilization strength, di ba? Yun yung talagang strength, yun yung talagang naging key point ng ano ni VP Lenny. Mobilization and logistical strength. Nag-emailan yung mga tao, nagkaroon ng mga Viber groups, anong gagawin natin upang sumuporta sa kampanya. Isang message lang, sabay-sabay, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, all corners of the Philippines were able to mobilize. The narrative strength though, what is the narrative? Kasi if you're talking about authenticity, si VP Lenny talagang ano yan, ang abilidad ni VP Lenny is to make something big out of relatively small resources. Yan ang talagang naging DSI or dominant selling idea ni VP Lenny. Andit ng budget, nakagawa ng maraming proyekto. Nagkaroon ng malaking bagyo because of that organizational logistical mobilization strength. She was able to send goods agad-agad and help. But the narrative kasi, siguro, hindi siguro, I'm sure yung campaign team niya nag-aaral din ng mga messaging quote-unquote holes, no? And I mentioned earlier yung DEAN, yung delight, entertain, amuse, and make noise. Siguro nakita nila, uy, butas tayo dyan. Lahat ng campaign materials natin, napakaseryoso. It's all VP Lenny saying, gagawan ko ng paraan ng trabaho. Ako po si Lenny Robredo. Ang presyo ng bilihin ay it's all that, right? There's no sense of diba? There's no sense of diversion. Kasi apart from ang hirap sa Pilipinas diba? Apart from needing to present the solution, you also need to be a diversion when you're a candidate. Kailangan natutuwa rin ng tao, panoorin ka. So, ang hirap talaga maging kandidato. Siguro nakita nila na dyan tayo butas. Kulang ng saya, kulang ng levity, kulang ng aliw factor, if you wanted to date that term, no? Aliw factor, yung messaging natin. So they tried with that. Alam mo naman yung nangyari nung nag-Dragon Ball Z sila.
Hadouken.
Yung Hadouken initiative nila, which was widely panned. So it's still a work in progress. I think the messaging needs to be balanced. Let Lenny Lead is a great campaignable. I think you can build on it. It's a true campaignable. And eventually, I'm hopeful that I'm sure naman, magagaling naman yung mga humahawak sa kampanya ni VP Lenny, that they will be able to strike that balance between lecturing and levity. Yung may lightness ng konti yung campaign.
Okay. Pero hindi ba mukhang late na yan at this stage in the campaign? Although technically hindi pa nagsisimula yung campaign for national candidates, diba? Sa February pa yun next month. Pero hindi ba medyo late na at this stage hindi pa yata nakaka-capture kung ano yung image or may narrative ng kandidato nila? Kumpara let's say kay Bongbong Marcos, matatandaan mo agad, diba? BBM, babangon muli. Kay Isko, sinabi mo kayo napakaliwanag, diba? Pero kay Lenny, may Mama Lenny before, may Kakampinks, may Lenny Lead. Bakit parang hindi in Kuwait pa in short?
Yun nga, in fact, this is a term that I mentioned earlier at the start of the podcast, no? Specifically talking about Manila Mayor Isko. Yung tinatawag nating TCA, Total Consistent Alignment. Dapat one messaging lang. And then, from that, you need to branch out. So far, kung ako tatanungin mo and other communications consultants I've spoken to, ang pinaka-true campaignable dyan is let Lenny lead. Kasi from there, you can go to the whys, diba? Let Lenny lead. Bakit? Ba't siya? To unpack your question, late na ba tayo? Oo, medyo huli na. We could have done away with the clutter. Naging parang on the fly yung dating. Parang they were throwing things at the wall. Tinitignan nila kung ano yung didikit. Perhaps not the most ideal way to run a campaign kasi dapat yan, nag-pre-survey ka na, nag-FGD ka na, in fact, nag-EFGD ka na, electoral FGD, kasi iba yun sa normal FGD. You should have done this nationwide, different socio-economic classes. Pero alam naman natin na huli din naman kasi nag-decide si VP Lenny na tumakbo, and people were scrambling. But it doesn't. I just so that I don't sound like a doom and gloom guy, no, and na talagang I'm wagging my finger at the Lenny campaign. Absolutely not. I'm not, no, because meron din tayong tinitignan na trajectory. In fact, for a campaign strategist like me, mas gusto ko yung trajectory. Well, it's a term used, no, and we use software. Personally, kami 4 na software ang ginagamit namin. We call it trajectory/velocity. So yung velocity ni VP Lenny, actually, if you ask a trend analyst or a math guy, they will actually prefer the velocity of VP Lenny right now because historically, tanggalin na natin lahat ng human factors. Sorry, medyo nagiging technical ako.
Yeah, go ahead. Very interesting.
If you treat it like a stock, like a stock price. So titignan mo lang yung candlestick chart. Never pa kasi nangyari sa kasaysayan ng Pilipinas na nanalo yung front runner sa survey.
Talaga, never. Kahit gaano kataas.
Never.
Pero okay, sige.
Never pa. Never pa talaga na nanalo yung front runner sa survey. Trajectory kasi ang tinitignan dyan. So if you're asking on one end, are they late? Are they late in terms of messaging? Perhaps. But in terms of trajectory, they're peaking at the right time. Nakita naman natin nung huling survey, halos na doble na yung kanyang statistical preference. It's a good sign if you think about it that way, if you were supportive of VP Len.
Okay. Pero in reality, to be honest about it, as a campaign strategist, sa tingin mo kailangan ba ng overhaul o reboot ng campaign ni Vice President Leni Robredo?
Hindi naman siguro reboot. I would call it a refocus. Let's cut the fat out. Let's focus on one campaignable. I would personally, hindi naman sa nagbibigay ako ng advice or nagsasabi ako kung anong dapat gawin. But for the purposes of the discussion, I would stick with Let Lenny Lead. Kasi for me, that's the true campaignable. Tatlo lang yan, di ba? In terms of facing. Who is the candidate? Why will you vote for the candidate? And then final stretch is vote for the candidate. Di ba? Yun, di ba? So if we're already in the why should we vote for the candidate stage, yung Let Lenny Lead, madali nang i-build up yun. Versus a Mama Lenny, versus a Kakamping, etc. Yung Let Lenny Lead, ang dali nang i-branch out yun. Because ang tanong doon is in Filipino, bakit? Or in English, why? So going back to Bongbong Marcos, di ba? Or Marcos Jr., babangon muli. And then, if the question is why, then they can give their reasons to believe. Kasi nung Marcos era, 2 pesos lang ang dolyar, meron tayong nuclear power, and whatever narrative they want to build. That's narrative control. The same should be applied to the Lenny campaign. Let Lenny Lead. Bakit? Kasi nakita niyo ba yung ginawa ng Office of the Vice President? Wala silang budget, nakagawa sila ng ganito. Let Lenny Lead. Bakit? Kasi ombudsman mismo nagbigay sa kanya ng highest rating. Konti na nga yung pondo niya, wala pa siyang kinulimbat. Let Lenny Lead. Why? Because nakita niyo naman tuwing panahon ng crisis o disaster, bagyo, sino ba nauuna, etc. Okay. You can build that up.
Pero yung ginagawa naman ito not necessarily by the campaign team of Leni Robredo, pero yung mga supporters niya na organic, let's say online, na aggressively binabanatan si Bongbong Marcos. Do you think this is working? For example, kunwari sabihin ng mga supporters ni Leni Robredo hindi magnanakaw. Yung mga ganong diskarte, effective ba yan?
Ako at this point, it's not only effective, it's essential. It's essential kasi you always have to break it down in terms of numbers and math. At this point, the undecided is not enough. Kailangan ka ng kumuha. Kailangan ka ng, you need to cut a slice of soft voters already.
From the others.
Yes, from the others. Soft voters ang kailangan mo. Masakit man sabihin, and I'm not saying that the Leni Robredo team is doing this. But candidate X, candidate versus candidate YZAB. At this point, dapat slightly kumukuha na siya eh. He's already trying to convince the soft voters of yung mga kalaban niya na mag-switch sa kanya.
Yun nga, kaso dun sa latest Okta Research survey, ang taas ng solid votes ni Bongbong Marcos, nasa 49%. Yung nagsabi na, I will definitely not change my vote. Tapos interestingly, dun sa isang slide na lumabas, ang tanong, if your candidate will not continue his or her candidacy, who will you likely vote for president instead? Ang laki nung mga sumagot na hindi. Yung review sa answer, di nila alam o wala. 26% buong Pilipinas. So parang reflective din yata ito doon sa support base si Bongbong Marcos. So paano ka kukuha ng boto from the other candidates? Specifically Bongbong Marcos.
Tenacious ang tawag dyan, di ba? Tenacity, voter tenacity, importante. Actually, 49% seems high, but wow. Sorry, parang ayabang ng dating ng sasabihin ko. I don't mean to be to put myself or my profession in a pedestal or anything like that. Pero sa 49%, okay pa yan. May mako-convert ko pa dyan.
Kaya pa.
I actually like that number. It's the first time I'm hearing it. 49% lang pala yung tenacious for Marcos Jr.
So hindi pa siya ganun kataas.
Basta hindi ka tumawid ng 50. Even on surveys, yan yung tinitingnan namin. Mas gusto ko pa halimbawa if it's Christian versus Alan, magkalaban tayo ng mayor of Tinseltown. Tinseltown mayoralty race. Tayong dalawa magkalaban. Mas gusto ko pa na ang survey mo is nasa 32% ka, ako nasa 5. Versus 53% ka at ako nasa 31. Mas gusto ko na yung 5 lang ako. Kasi tumawid ka na ng 50 eh.
Pero may ibang surveys na 'di ba recently. Ito yung kanina yung pinag-usapan natin yung percentage ng votes ni supporters ni Bongbong Marcos na hindi na magbabago ang isip. That's 49%. Pero may previous surveys na tumawid siya sa 50% in terms of support base, 'di ba?
Yes, tenacity. Well, I mean, the numbers are the numbers. There's no denying them. I won't invalidate any survey or any survey firm, but the reality is, whatever the numbers are, you really, at this point, kailangan kumain ka na ng soft votes. However small those soft votes may be. Pero, I'm tracking this back to your earlier question na dapat bang meron ng quote-unquote pitik sa mga kalaban mo. At this point, oo, kailangan. Lalo ngayon, na pandemya pa tayo ulit. Nagkaroon ulit ng outbreak. Hindi na naman pwedeng umikot. Hindi na naman pwedeng mask-to-mask campaigning. Sa SOCMED na naman magkakabakbakan yan. Ito ba
yung time na kailangan mo nang bumanat sa kalaban to get a chunk of their supporters to go to you?
Yes, but you need to banat well-calibrated banat ang kailangan dyan. Hindi ka baliwala yung sinabi mong Lenny Lugaw, Lenny Lutang. Yan. Baliwala yon. Dapat ang banat mo ay artful. And okay. How do you make your banat artful? Perhaps 3 podcast pa ang kailangan natin para
doon kayo papasok, yung expertise nyo. Artful banat.